Bookish friends, I'm Berna from Turkey. In this video, I will talk about my Jane Austen books from my least favorite to favorite. I'm doing this video because I'm also participating in austenaugust, which is created by Krista from Books and Gems. I will link her channel down below. I will read one book for austenaugust, but I will do this video. I wanted to do this video because I love Jane Austen. It showed me that I can read classics without feeling overwhelmed. She's a prolific author for me. So I wanted to dedicate my first video for her. But I'm going to start with a negative note because my least favorite book, Mansfield Park, I really did not like this book, which was a bit surprising for me because before that I have read Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, and Emma, and loved them all. And this book was such a big disappointment for me. It tells the story of Fanny Price, who is an orphan girl who comes to live with her uncle, and then talks about the relationships between her uncle's family, her cousins, the friends of her cousins, and how she sees them. It has its merits. It clearly defines the society and how flawed it is. But I did not like this book because I did not like Fanny Price. I mean, she complained all the time about all the bad things that people were doing, and although she was right, they were not very good people. They had so many flaws, and they were at wrong. But she complained all the time and did not do anything. And I mean, I really did not like this book. And the pacing was a bit off. It dragged in the middle, and the ending was so quick paced. It just finished like that, and I was like, oh, maybe Jane Austen is bored as well. But of course she was not. But that was my joke about this book. Anyhow, I still gave it 2 stars because it has beautiful descriptions about the society, and I like, as I've said, I like the atmosphere of this book, but I did not like the main characters, and the relationship, the love story was not believable for me. Sorry. Another book, I think it's a novella that I have read from Jane Austen, was Lady Susan. Lady Susan is an interesting book. It is told in letter. The story is told in letters, and Lady Susan is also not likable, but she's very fascinating character, and it was a really quick read. I think it was the first book that I have read in one sitting, and it was not like 40 pages or something like that. I'm not really sure how it is, but I think it's a bit longer than 100 pages, so it was a quick read for me. I gave it 3 stars. I liked it, but not loved it as much as all the other Austen books that I am going to talk about. So, the next book is Northanger Abbey. Northanger Abbey tells the story of Caitlin Morland, who comes from her sheltered life to Bath, to Northanger Abbey, and meets some people living there. Catherine Morland is a lovely character. I mean, she's so naive, she's so lovely. She reads a lot, and she has an incredibly high imagination. I mean, I read a lot, but I wish I had her imagination. She was so she believed in the Gothic stories and thought they were real. it was so funny. It was a witty book. I liked it a lot. I did not like Henry Tilly not much, but he was all right. I mean, but I liked Catherine much more than Henry Tilly. I gave this book 4 stars. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Sense and Sensibility. I also gave this book 4 stars, and I like the story. It tells the story of 2 sisters who have been rich but lost their fortune, and how they cope with that. And this aspect of the story was much more interesting than their love stories, in my opinion, of course. I loved Eleanor. She was like me most of the time, and their love, as I've said, their love interests were all right. I mean, not as fancy as the other ones that I'm going to talk about, but it is a very good book about society, their values, how people can view things from the perspective of money, even in that era. It is a very good character study for me. The next Jane Austen book that I'm going to talk about is Emma. Oh, how I love Emma. This is one of the funniest books that I have read, because, I mean, many people do not like Emma. I read, and I was like, why do you not like Emma? She is so witty. And I don't know. I like her because she means well. She thinks, let me tell you about the book. Maybe you don't know about the book. I don't know. The story. It is the story of Emma, who thinks she's the best matchmaker in England, in whole of England, maybe in the world, because she had made one successful match. So she tries to match her friend with an eligible bachelor who she thinks is eligible, in spite of her needs or her wants. And her story, it tells her how she manages to do it or how she cannot manage to do it. We'll see. The love story in this book is much more better than the other ones that I have spoke of previously. I think Mr. Knightley and Emma are a good couple. They like spending time together. They like to fight. They like to have disagreements. They are so comfortable with each other, and I like them for this. So, the most famous Jane Austen book is Pride and Prejudice, and it's the second in my list. Before reading Persuasion, which is not a spoiler because it is the only book left in this pile, Mr. Darcy was my favorite character in all of Jane Austen's novels. This book tells the story of the Bennet sisters, who are old enough to marry, and their mothers desire to marry them off to eligible bachelors, and it has one of the most famous opening sentences in literature. I'm going to read it, of course. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. Wow. Is it universally accomplished right now? I'm not really sure. Anyhow, Mr. Darcy, as I said before, is one of my favorite characters in this book. Liz Bennet is also very likable. Jane Bennet, lovely character. The sistership between Jane and Elizabeth is very impressive, in my opinion. And Mr. Darcy, although he does not speak much, he's a really good character. He's a really good man. And I mean, who can forget Colin Firth in that BBC adaptation? But I mean, he is close to that in this book. And my favorite Jane Austen, and one of my favorite books, is Persuasion. It tells the story of Anne Elliot, who is persuaded by Jane Russell not to marry Captain Wentworth because he was not in possession of a good fortune. The other book. Ooh. Anyway, but as the years went by, Anne could not forget Mr. Wentworth, and she really regrets what she has done for rejecting him. And it tells the story of when Captain Wentworth comes to visit Anne's hometown and their sisters. The family, Anne's family in this book is horrific. I mean, how could you not feel for poor Anne when she tries to find love with lovely, very, very good writer, Captain Wentworth. I mean, there's a letter which is like, oh my gosh, it is one of the best things I have read about love. So Captain Wentworth is my favorite character after reading Persuasion. I mean, Mr. Darcy is close second, but I mean, Captain Wentworth, oh, he's so romantic. Oh my gosh. Of course they have their faults, but Anne and Captain Wentworth are my favorite Austen couple. As I have said, Jane Austen is one of my favorite authors, and I was so pleased to do this video. Jane Austen books, I talked about the love aspect most of the time, I know that. But Jane Austen books talks about relationships between families and society, the norms in the society, the values, the interactions between the society. It is a very good period historical fiction, as well as romance books. So that was my contribution for Austen-August. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you very soon. Thank you.